Imagine being the biggest movie studio on Earth, like the undisputed king of Hollywood. You have a two-time Oscar-winning star practically begging to play a beloved superhero.
Right, and you have a blank check budget to work with.
Exactly, a totally blank check. You own the intellectual property. And yet, after 7 agonizing years, you completely spectacularly fail to make the movie. Today, we're unpacking the collapse of Marvel's Blade.
It is genuinely one of the most high-profile cinematic implosions in modern Hollywood history. We are talking about a total systemic breakdown here.
And the craziest part is that it started with the highest of highs. I mean, if you cast your mind back to July 2019, right?
Right.
At the San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah. Hall H.
Yes. Hall H. Marvel literally broke the internet. The head of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, is standing on stage. The crowd is just roaring. And he brings out a surprise guest, which is Mahershala Ali.
It's such a great moment. He just calmly walks out there.
Yeah, he walks out, puts on this baseball cap with the new Blade logo on it, and the room just loses its mind. It was this massive mic drop moment that sent shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry.
Pure, unadulterated cinematic anticipation. I mean, they announced it, and everyone just immediately assumed it was a guaranteed billion-dollar blockbuster.
But then you fast forward to July 2026. 7 years later, that same studio boss, Kevin Feige, is publicly calling himself a, quote, gigantic loser and failure regarding this exact project.
Which is an insane thing for an executive of his level to admit out loud.
It really is. And on top of that, Mahershala Ali confirms he has officially walked away from the role. The movie is just dead in the water.
So the mission of our deep dive today is figuring out a single baffling question for you. Why did Marvel not move on the Blade movie in the MCU?
And we've got a really massive stack of sources here to help us map this whole thing out.
We do. We are pulling from Hollywood trade reports, Wikipedia development timelines, Reddit fan reactions, and some incredibly candid direct quotes from both Ali and Feige. What's fascinating here, what you'll see as we go through this, is that this wasn't just a movie that suffered from a bad script. When we analyze these sources, it becomes clear that this project's failure is a perfect reflection of an entire industry shifting, breaking, and, trying to frantically correct itself in real time.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really understand how a multi-billion-dollar studio fails to make a movie about a guy who hunts vampires, we first have to look at the massive ambitions driving the project.
Right.
Because, ironically, it was the sheer prestige of the people involved that ultimately suffocated it.
You really have to look at the genesis of this specific reboot. Because Mahershala Ali actually approached Marvel in 2019, fresh off winning an Oscar for Green Book.
Right, he was riding high.
Exactly. And he just finished a run playing the villain Cottonmouth in the Marvel television series Luke Cage. But he wanted to elevate his presence to the feature film side. So he pitched the Blade movie to Marvel himself.
Which is rare, right? Usually the studio comes to the actor.
Yeah, completely. He wanted to explore the darker, grittier side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And according to the trades, he explicitly envisioned this as his version of Black Panther.
Which is just an unimaginably high bar to set for yourself. I mean, Black Panther wasn't just a superhero movie. It was a global cultural phenomenon.
It won Academy Awards.
Exactly. But because he is Mahershala Ali, Marvel essentially just handed him the keys to the kingdom. They gave him an unprecedented amount of creative control.
Which they usually never do.
Never. Our sources note that when Marvel's initial shortlist of directors didn't impress him because he felt they were a bit too untested at the major studio level, Ali just handpicked Jan Demange to direct.
He was calling the shots.
Totally calling the shots. He also personally brought in True Detective creator Nick Pizzolatto to rewrite the script, leaning on their past working relationship from season 3 of that show.
And that search for prestige completely altered the DNA of what a Blade movie typically is. I mean, that ambition led to 3 or 4 distinct iterations of the film.
Wait, like totally different movies?
Completely different. At one point, the script evolved into a sprawling period piece set entirely in the 1920s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was going to feature Mia Goth as the villain Lilith, who was hunting Blade's daughter against the backdrop of the Prohibition era.
That is so far from a standard Marvel movie.
Right. And Kevin Feige even admitted to the press that they didn't want to just, quote, put a leather outfit on Ali and have him start killing vampires. They wanted a prestige script that justified an actor of his caliber.
Which, sounds incredibly sophisticated on paper. But then you look at Reddit, and the fans were literally begging for a simple, violent vampire hunting movie.
They didn't want a Prohibition-era drama.
No! It reminds me of food. Like, imagine you have this intense craving for a perfect late-night, greasy smash burger.
Oh, I love this analogy.
Right, and someone promises to make you one. But then they spend 7 years agonizing over how to turn that smash burger into a Michelin star 12-course tasting menu.
Yeah, they totally overthought it.
You don't want a tasting menu. You just want the burger. And you'd literally starve to death waiting for them to figure it out.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the studio was fighting against the very legacy of the character. I mean, look back at the original 1998 Blade starring Wesley Snipes.
Such a classic.
It really is. And that film was never trying to be Oscar bait.
Yeah.
It was an R-rated, action-heavy, bloody martial arts movie.
Exactly.
But the critical context here is that that specific B-movie single-handedly saved the superhero genre. Marvel was struggling financially in the late 90s, and Blade proved comic book adaptations could be massive, culturally relevant box office hits.
So it had this huge legacy to live up to.
Yeah. Trying to take a character whose entire cinematic foundation is built on being a gritty action hero and elevate him into an Oscar-caliber prestige drama, that fundamental misunderstanding of the assignment is what paralyzed the development.
But, demanding a prestige script is one thing. Actually getting it approved through the corporate machinery is another. Because Ali wanted Oscar-level writing, they threw out the standard Marvel playbook, which triggered a complete meltdown in staffing.
It is genuinely dizzying when you look at the turnover on this project.
It's insane. When you track the timeline, this project burned through at least 6 separate writers. 6. You have Stacey Osei-Kuffour, Beau DeMayo, Michael Starbury, Nick Pizzolatto, Michael Green, and Eric Pearson. Just a revolving door.
And it burned through 2 directors, too. Bassem Tariq and the aforementioned Yann Dimanche.
And the collateral damage extended to the cast as well. Highly respected actors like Delroy Lindo and Aaron Pierre were officially hired. They sat in limbo for months during massive production delays and were eventually just let go when the scripts changed entirely.
Yeah, Mia Goth was one of the only supporting actors who actually remained attached through all the chaos.
I have to push back a little here, though. We're putting a lot of this on the actor's desire for prestige. But isn't it the studio's job to manage their talent?
That's a very fair point.
I mean, Marvel built a $30 billion empire by running a very tight ship. Are we really saying they were bullied by one actor's vision into firing half a dozen writers?
This raises an important question about the power dynamics in Hollywood at that specific time. Marvel wasn't bullied. They were desperate.
Desperate how?
Well, we have to look at the economic mechanics of what Disney was doing. Phage directly cited Disney's corporate mandate at the time, which was to aggressively overexpand their content output to feed the Disney Plus streaming service.
Oh, right. The streaming wars.
Exactly. They shifted from making 3 theatrical movies a year to producing multiple television shows, animations, and films simultaneously. The machine just required constant feeding to maintain subscriber retention.
Which stretches the executive team incredibly thin.
Phage admitted in a very rare moment of candor that for the first time in Marvel's history, quantity trumped quality.
Ouch. That's quite an admission.
Yeah, so Kevin Feige's attention is divided across a dozen different streaming shows. He isn't able to micromanage Blade the way he managed early MCU films.
So he passes it off.
Right. He delegates it to a revolving door of middle management executives who are frankly just terrified to tell a 2-time Oscar winner no.
And that lack of strong, unified leadership creates a vacuum where chaos thrives. It wasn't just scheduling conflicts either. There were deep internal culture clashes.
Yeah, it got really messy behind the scenes.
Writer Beau DeMayo alleged that he raised serious concerns about the workplace culture before he was removed from the project. He claimed some executives made racially motivated comments, like comparing his physical appearance to Wesley Snipes.
Which is just horrible.
Yeah. When a production is dealing with allegations like that behind the scenes, it's a clear symptom of an environment where no one is on the same page and the vision is completely lost. But wait, I still don't fully get it. Marvel movies go through extensive reshoots and rewrites all the time. It's literally their trademark. Why couldn't they just lock Mahershala in, shoot the vampire action scenes, and fix the dialogue in post-production like they always do?
Because you can't do that with a prestige actor who demands final creative approval on a bespoke script.
Ah, I see.
Think of the Marvel production method, like a highly efficient fast food assembly line built for producing thousands of identical, reliable sedans. It moves fast, and it lays the tracks while the train is already moving.
Right, they fix it as they go.
Exactly. But attempting to make Blade under these conditions was like trying to build a handcrafted, bespoke Rolls-Royce on that exact same fast food assembly line.
That's a great way to put it.
The conveyor belt doesn't know how to stop, so you can hand-stitch the leather.
Oh, that makes total sense. The infrastructure just wasn't built for a slow, thoughtful drama.
Feige explicitly confirmed this mechanical failure, actually. He stated that Marvel usually feels they can take a good script and make it great during production through their reshoot process.
That's their whole thing.
Yeah, but with Blade, Feige said, quote, "We didn't feel confident that we could do that." Wait, sorry. We didn't feel confident that we could do that, and we didn't want to do that to Mahershala.
So they just froze.
They refused to start the assembly line until the Rolls-Royce blueprint was utterly flawless.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because while the internal Marvel machine was completely breaking down trying to write this perfect blueprint, massive external forces started battering the project too.
Right. It wasn't just internal issues.
Exactly. It led to some truly absurd Hollywood moments.
The timing was just catastrophic.
Yeah.
Because just as they finally brought in Nick Pizzolatto to rewrite the script for that 1920s Prohibition-era version we mentioned.
Oh, yeah, the Mia Goth one.
Yeah. Just as they do that, the 2023 Writers Guild and Screen Actors Guild strikes hit and brought the entire industry to a standstill.
Everyone just stopped working.
It completely halted Pizzolatto's rewrites and totally killed whatever fragile production momentum they had managed to build.
And those strike delays led to the single craziest detail in our entire stack of sources. I mean, this blew my mind.
Oh, the costumes.
The costumes. So they were deep into prepping this 1920s period piece. They had Ruth E. Carter, who actually won an Oscar for her costume design on Black Panther, painstakingly designing bespoke Prohibition-era wardrobes for the entire cast.
Beautiful, expensive stuff.
Right. But the strikes hit, the production freezes for months. During the downtime, they toss out the 1920s script and decide to change the setting back to the modern day.
So now they have a problem.
A huge problem. They have a warehouse full of incredible 1920s clothing that they no longer need. So what do? They literally sell off the costumes.
And they sold them to a direct competitor, essentially.
Yes. Marvel let Black Panther director Ryan Coogler buy the entire warehouse full of Ruth E. Carter's Blade costumes to use in his own 2025 Prohibition-era vampire movie, Sinners.
It's unbelievable.
Wait, a multi-billion-dollar studio is so stalled out that they are literally supplying the wardrobe for a competing vampire movie. How does a studio reach a point where they're just selling off assets, like a closing department store?
That costume sell-off is the perfect visual representation of a much deeper shift in Hollywood mechanics. It marks the exact point where the project lost its urgency.
Lost its urgency? How so?
Well, following the financial strain of the strikes, Disney CEO Bob Iger implemented a new mandate. He ordered Marvel to scale back their output from the Disney Plus boom down to just 2 or 3 carefully chosen movies a year.
So the mandate flipped from, make as much as possible to only make sure fire hits.
Exactly. The ticking clock was removed. Before this mandate, Marvel executives felt a crushing, non-negotiable pressure to hit publicly announced release dates at all costs.
Right. The release date was king.
The release date was the ultimate boss. If you have a date, you have to shoot. Even if the script is only a 7 out of 10, you shoot it and you fix it in post.
But taking away the deadline ironically killed the movie.
Exactly the opposite of what you'd expect, right?
Oh.
Without a forced release date pushing them into production, executives will rewrite a script forever.
Because they're scared.
Right. Nobody wanted to take the career risk of greenlighting a flawed prestige movie when Bob Iger is demanding guaranteed hits. Without that ticking clock forcing them to compromise and just start filming, they fell right back into the perfection trap.
And the lack of urgency ultimately let the project languish indefinitely in development hell.
Just bled out slowly.
And while the main movie was languishing, Marvel was dealing with the awkward reality that they had already started teasing Blade to the fans. They had put the cart way before the horse.
Oh, right. They had already committed to his existence in the cinematic universe, assuming the movie was a sure thing.
So embarrassing.
It is. At the very end of the 2021 film Eternals, there is a post-credits scene where Mahershala Ali's voice makes a cameo. He speaks off-screen to Kit Harington's character, who plays the Black Knight.
Which got the fan base incredibly hyped for a supernatural team-up movie. It was a promise to the audience.
But it was a promise they couldn't keep. During one of the many subsequent script rewrites, specifically the draft by Michael Starbury, they realized the script was getting too bloated. So they dropped the Eternals tie-in entirely to make the movie leaner.
Meaning they set up a major plot point in one movie and then just quietly deleted it in the writer's room.
Leaving the actors to deal with the fallout.
So awkward.
By 2023, Kit Harington had to go to comic conventions and awkwardly confirm to disappointed fans that an Eternals follow-up in the Blade movie was never actually the plan.
Oh, man.
It showcased a total disconnect between the overarching universe planning and the reality of the individual movie's script development.
And they were so desperate to salvage some of this supernatural lore, to prove to the audience that they still cared about this corner of the universe, that they resorted to animation.
Yeah, this was bizarre.
Right. They created a character called Blade Knight, which was this weird mashup of the characters Blade and Moon Knight for the Marvel Zombies animated series.
Just to have something.
Exactly. They modeled the animation on Mahershala Ali's likeness. But because of endless scheduling issues, Ali couldn't even record the dialogue. So they had to hire actor Todd Williams to voice it.
It really feels like they were just grasping at straws.
Totally grasping at straws, trying to push something out to prove the IP wasn't dead.
It was a highly chaotic way to try and manage audience expectations. They were plugging holes in the dam publicly while the main structure was quietly collapsing behind closed doors.
Which brings us to the inevitable conclusion in 2026. With no ticking clock, a constantly shifting script, endless delays and strikes, the dam finally broke.
Early in 2026, the trade started reporting that a solo Blade film was effectively dead.
Just dead.
Yeah. The new strategic plan at Marvel Studios was to abandon the solo origin project entirely and instead look to fold the Blade character into a larger ensemble Midnight Suns team-up movie down the line.
And that pivot prompted Mahershala Ali to finally officially address his exit in July 2026.
Which had to be a relief for him, honestly.
Probably. After 7 years of trying to make it work, he gave an interview stating he learned the hard way that, quote, sometimes the stars just don't align.
Very diplomatic.
He was very gracious, saying he didn't regret putting his heart into the development process. But he noted that an actor's prime years are precious, and he wanted to focus on stories that are ready to be told right now rather than waiting for a green light that might never come.
And there is a brilliant, almost poetic irony to the career choice he made immediately after exiting.
This is the absolute best part of the whole saga. Ollie's next major role was starring in a 2026 independent film called Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother.
And guess who wrote and directed that movie?
Bassam Tariq, the very first director that Marvel fired from Blade all the way back in 2022.
You can't make that up.
No. Ollie went on record saying the film felt very much in alignment with the type of work he wanted to be known for.
That single detail highlights the massive creative disconnect at the core of this failure. What Ollie and his chosen collaborators wanted to make was fundamentally incompatible with what the Marvel corporate machine was capable of producing.
And while all of this tragedy is playing out for Ollie's version, the original Blade actually comes back to twist the knife.
Oh, this was wild.
Wesley Snipes shockingly returned to play his iconic version of Blade in the 2024 blockbuster Deadpool and Wolverine.
I remember the theater losing it.
Same. And in the middle of that movie, Snipes looks right at the camera and delivers this meta joke. He says, there's only been one Blade. Only ever gonna be one Blade.
When Snipes delivered that line in 2024, it was written as a cheeky, funny nod to the endless production delays of the reboot.
Yeah, everyone knew what he was talking about.
Exactly. The audience laughed because everyone knew the Ollie movie was struggling. But by 2026, that joke evolved into a literal prophecy.
So what does this all mean? How should you, the listener, view the current state of superhero cinema and blockbuster filmmaking after this massive 7-year saga?
If we connect this to the broader landscape of Hollywood, this saga represents a massive, undeniable turning point for Marvel Studios and the industry at large.
A reality check.
Absolutely. For over a decade, Marvel operated under the assumption that their brand name alone was invincible.
They thought they couldn't fail.
Right. But this failure proved conclusively that simply having a 2-time Oscar-winning star, a wildly popular piece of recognizable intellectual property, and a blank check budget is no longer enough to force a movie into existence.
That's not enough anymore.
No. If you do not have a cohesive, unified creative vision from day one and a production pipeline suited to the tone of the movie you are trying to make, the machine will tear itself apart.
It's a sobering reality check for an industry that thought it had cracked the code for endless content. So to wrap this all up for you, The failure of the MCU's Blade reboot wasn't just a random streak of bad luck.
Definitely not.
It was a fatal combination of aiming for misplaced prestige, corporate overexpansion that forced executives to prioritize quantity over quality, global labor strikes, stopping what little momentum they had, the removal of forced release dates that allowed executives to overthink the script to death, and fundamentally a complete disagreement between the star and the studio on what a Blade movie should actually be.
You can't turn a greasy smash burger into a Michelin star meal on a fast food assembly line.
Exactly. You just can't do it.
And this raises an important question, actually. It's thought I'd love to leave everyone with as we look at the future of these massive franchises.
Let's hear it.
If Wesley Snipes' meta-joke turned out to be completely right, and a grueling 7-year struggle proved there can truly only ever be one Blade, does this mean the superhero genre needs to finally reevaluate its strategy?
Oh, interesting.
Should studios stop spending hundreds of millions of dollars chasing the ghosts of 1998, endlessly rebooting classic legacy characters, and instead focus entirely on creating original, new heroes for a modern generation?
It's a heavy question. And when you picture that massive auditorium in Hall H back in 2019, the crowd roaring, the baseball cap, the promise of something truly groundbreaking, it's wild to think that after 7 years, the only thing left on that stage is an empty space. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.